Mhm. Hi, Janelle. Thanks so much for joining us today. You're here with Steve Barton, producer of All Hallows Eve Inferno. I think you might be dialing in from a phone, so we're just going to send the backup recording to you after we're done, if that's okay.
That would be
Other
super
than that,
helpful.
you've got 10 minutes and you can begin whenever you're ready.
Hey, Janelle.
Hi, Steve. How are you? We're actually Facebook friends.
Oh, cool, man. Well, thank you for taking the time to hang out with me a little bit.
I'm sorry I'm at work, but tell me a little bit about like how you got involved with everything and working with All Hallows Eve and then Terrifier and how it
Yeah,
kind of just blew up.
it's been a ride, man. When I did Dread Central for 18 years, and during that time, I was mentored by Sid Haig and George Romero, who are like the most incredible mentors in the world you could possibly have. So I consider myself very, very lucky. And we spoke a lot about film and all the ins and the outs of it. And after, I don't know, about maybe 10 years of doing Dread Central, uh, I met this filmmaker named Dan Farrens, who is an incredible filmmaker. He actually wrote Halloween 6 as well. And he was producing Never Sleep. Well, he was directing Never Sleep Again, the Elm Street Legacy. And he asked me if I wanted to help, and I couldn't resist seeing what like the other side of it would be. I mean, I've been on hundreds of film sets and stuff. So, but to really dig into the process, it was a great experience. So I knew right then and there I wanted to keep going and maybe sort of transition my career or evolve it, if that makes sense. And
Hmm.
one of the things I missed about Dread Central once I left was it was important to me that Dread Central always gave the indie horror filmmaker as much of a voice as the studio horror filmmaker. And I couldn't do that anymore because I didn't have that avenue. So after the success of, Terrifier and Terrifier 2, a lot of people wanted to work with me. And some of the people were like, we just want to use your name. And that's not cool. That's my name, man. And Jesse Baget of Ruthless Pictures approached me and he asked me if I wanted to do All Hallows Eve. And I said, well, let me think about it. Let me see if I can come up with an angle that I think would be exciting. And I came up with this idea like, what if we took these pre existing films, right, that are already out there? Because as an indie short filmmaker, your movie has a very finite lifespan, right? You do your festival run, maybe you get featured on a website or two, and then eventually, as always, your film goes end up to live and die on places like YouTube and Vimeo, right? So I thought, what if we could take these films that are just sitting there that deserve to be seen and give them the opportunity to be viewed by a much wider audience, who don't have film festivals by them or whatever the case may be, and give them that experience of sitting through a short film block of really good shorts that have been curated and give them that experience in the comfort of their home. And that is exciting to me. And if the right person sees it, as with All Hallows Eve, and these filmmakers can make a feature maybe based upon one of those shorts, or they make something completely different on the strength of their filmmaking abilities, I think that's the most exciting thing, and I couldn't say no to it.
What was it like sort of working with George Romero, and what do you think is the biggest piece of advice or even words of wisdom that you sort of took away from him? Because he's George Romero.
um I miss him so much. Sorry. George taught me a lot, and so did Sid. And what they both instilled on me, yeah, it's right here, instilled in me, is to know how to treat people and to be respectful and to know when to listen, more importantly, to know when to shut the fuck up. And more than that, they taught me also how to expect to be treated and to know my worth. But if I had to pick one piece of advice that George gave me that I stick with every day, it's we had just finished the commentary for Survival of the Dead, and God, working with him, it was like watching Picasso paint. You know, that's the only way I could put it. And we're sitting on his couch, and at the beginning of the commentary, we recorded it in his living room. We were talking about the movie, and by the end of it, we were drunk as hell, and we're talking about Led Zeppelin and just all this crazy shit. And it was an opportunity for me to give fans a look at the side of George they may not have seen, you know? And after we did that, we were sitting on the couch and he put his hand on my lap and he's like, Steve, because this is exactly how we talk. He was just an old hippie, man. But Steve, you gotta promise me something, man. And I'm like, what, George? He goes, whatever you do in this life, whether it be make a movie or write a book or do whatever it is, I don't care what it is. If you start it, finish it. Never leave it open ended because if you don't finish it, man, you're always going to be wondering what would happen if you did. And that was the biggest piece of advice I've ever gotten. And I'm thankful for that. And my relationship with both of those incredible legends every day. And I do believe without their tutelage and what they had instilled upon me, I wouldn't be where I am.
What do you think you took away from Sid? Because I remember one of my favorite experiences, not to ramble on, but I got to meet him a few times at conventions and he remembered me and he goes, put your hair in my head. He goes, I just want to see what I look like with hair. I was cracking up laughing and I
That's
asked
totally,
him for advice, as a writer and being a woman and liking horror movies, because I went through a lot of stuff where you like horror movies, like, oh, and
I,
my whole life.
I get it.
And he just laughed and he was so cool and such a nice person to talk to. And he just sort of, he was funny, but he also genuinely cared. Like he listened to me ramble on and on and on about Captain Spaulding and all his characters and different films he was in. And what do you think you took away from Sid?
So much. Sid was both Sid and George. They didn't buy into that whole thing that they were legends, you know, even though they totally were. And what I took away from Sid wasn't necessarily something that he told me, it was something that he demonstrated. And that was, I did a lot of conventions with Sid, and now I'm, for what crazy world we live in, the one signing at conventions. Whenever someone came up to Sid, they were the most important person in that room, you know? And he made sure, regardless of how long his line was or whatever the case may be, that person got to spend that moment and it was special for them. And I take that with me in everything that I do. If somebody comes up to me who's into something that I've done, I don't think of them as fans. I think of them as peers, you know? But if somebody's really into something that I've done, I make sure I'm there and present for that conversation, you know, and that's what Sid was for everybody, regardless of the crowd or how long it would take. He was there and present for everybody. So that's what I took away from him.
What would you like to say to everyone that's watching, that's going to be watching and watching All Hallows Eve and the Terrifier films and every other film you've been involved with? What do you kind of want people to know from your perspective?
Bell hasn't run yet, you know. You're always in the fight, man. Um, See, it's funny because there's so much good and bad, and the good times are so easy because you just enjoy them. But the bad times are a little bit more worth it. I know that sounds weird, but it's the bad times, man, when you've been knocked on your ass and you're looking at the walls around you and they seem like 400 feet tall, and the only thing you could do is stand up, dust yourself off, and say, "How do I get out of this?" It's the decisions you make during your darkest times where everything seems so insurmountable that are going to dictate your character and who you become. And if you love something and you believe in it, and it's something that you have a passion for, don't ever let anyone tell you you can't do it. Damien Leone made his movies, you know. Steve Barton made his movies or his projects. I have a book coming out. I did that. And I'm a street kid from Brooklyn with a GED. I have no formal training in anything, but I love what I do and I have a passion for it. And my advice to everyone when they watch these things is to see the passion that the filmmakers had for their projects and try to find that passion within yourself for what you love.
I thank you so much. It was an honor to talk to you, and I am looking forward to your book too. I want to read it. So thank you so, so much for taking the time to talk to me, and congratulations and good luck. And I can't wait to see what else you do.
Me too, man. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But listen, I do recognize you from social media. Please tag me on all your coverage so I can share it, okay?
I will. Thank you so much, Steve.
Have a good Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Yes. Take care.